Sometimes you just gotta groove to the tunes. All right, everybody. Tim Hepworth here. I'm here with Thursday Night Live Fly Tying and Fly Fishing Board Outfitters, and I'm here to bring you another quick tie. We are tying from Season 4, Episode 16. Okay, we are tying the PFD Rusty Spinner. Gonna take you through this fly. If you would please like and subscribe to this video. Let us know that you're here. If you're part of that replay squad and you are watching, let us know. Drop a comment. Hit that little bell icon because it'll let you know every time we have another video come out. Okay. I am tying out of my Season 4. Let's focus. Thursday Night Live Fly Tying Kit. Okay. If you don't have one of these and you would like to get one, you can still go over to our website at www.flyfishingboardver.com/TNL S4 and pick it up today. Okay, let's head on over to the vise and let's get going. I'm going to be tying with some UTC 70, something a little smaller, okay, and this kind of coppery brown color. All right, now what's important when starting this fly is you're leaving yourself a nice long tag of thread. Okay, leave it, hold it up, and let's lock it down while we lay a thread base all the way back to the back of the fly. Okay, we want to leave our thread just before the hook bend, somewhere in there, kind of between the barb and the hook bend, around the barb. Okay, leave that on there, don't cut it off because we're going to use it. Not a lot of materials to this fly. Okay, we've got some parapost or yarn material. It's going to be our wing. We have a little bit of this brown yarn is actually what we're going to use instead of dubbing. Really simple to tie with. And then we have this tail material, okay, mayfly material. It's a synthetic. Okay, lots of these little tiny fibers, so you got lots of those if you want to tie some more out of your kit. This is the material we're going to start with. So what I want you to do is try to isolate 2, okay? And if you don't get it right on 2 and it's like 3, it's fine. I've got a couple right there by themselves. You would think these are very difficult to see. How could a fish see these? But they do, okay? It's important. They lay a little bit of a profile in the water. Now, if you've ever seen a mayfly's tail, you know that in comparison to their body, it is quite long, okay? So we want to leave over a full hook length, so that's 1 hook length off the back. So I like to go about 1.5, and that's what I'm going to lay out the back. Okay, so that's quite a ways out the back. I'm going to switch hands, and I'm going to fix this right to the top of the hook shank. Make sure you keep that tag of thread kind of out of the way, but we are going to use it here shortly. Okay, put a nice little thread wrap to bind it. I like to move it forward a bit and then come back and make sure that it's right up on top. So if it's not, I'm going to kind of adjust, make sure that that tail fiber is up and it's nice and long, as you can see. Now I'm going to take some thread wraps right to the back where I left it. Now here comes one of the more challenging parts, is you have to go in there with either a bodkin or your scissors or something and try to splay that tail open. Okay, so you have 1 fiber on each side. Sometimes it can be a little tough. It's actually almost easier to get in there with your fingers and try to pull them separate. Once you get it separate, we're going to go in and grab that tag we left, okay? So, good to go ahead and grab that right off the start here. Okay, this tag is what we're going to use to pull up between these 2 little guys. So, I'm going to throw a quick half hitch in this, get my thread out of the way so I get less things to worry about here. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab these tail fibers and try to splay them. Can be pretty tough to do as I struggle with it. Once you get them separated, come on now. There we go. Once you have 1 on either side, so I'm holding 1 and 1 is freestanding, okay? I'm going to pass that thread through and pull it up between the 2 pieces, okay? So this thread is currently between the 2. I'm going to tip this so you can see. They start to splay, and then as I pull this forward and I pull more tension, those tails splay more or splay less. Okay, I want to splay them a decent amount, but I don't want them to be sticking straight out. So once I've pulled those and they're splayed, I'll leave it kind of at this angle so you can see. I'm going to take my thread back, and as I wrap around, that's going to hold the tension because I'm pulling on this tag end of the thread as well. That's holding the tension of those tail fibers and leaving them splayed, so you can see that they're split just like that. Very difficult to see, but the fish will see them on the water. Once I've done that, I'm going to take some nice firm thread wraps so none of that moves, And I'll come in here and cut out the tag and the tail of those fibers out, the butts of them, and then just go ahead and bind them down. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do before I start tying in that yarn material is I'm going to come back about a full hook eye behind the eye itself, and I'm going to tie in my wing. Okay. Now, these spinner wings are like, so when a mayfly dies and it lands on the water, its wings lay flat on the water. We want them to look quite big in profile, but not massive. So I'm going to split a little bit of this off. That's going to be pretty good right about there, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to tie this in almost like it's dumbbell eyes. So I'm going to do a cross wrap, okay? I'm going to come back over and cross wrap the other way and go again. And then once I have and I know it's secured, I'm going to pull it tight. Ooh, somebody's tempting me with some meatito here. I'm going to pull and make sure that that's right on top of the hook shank, okay? Perfectly. Now, I don't need to waste all this material in out this side, so I'm going to pull a little bit. So I have lots of extra to work with. So now I got this just a little shorter section there. Again, make sure it's right up on top. And now I'm going to do some really good securing wraps. And I'm going to do a few figure eights, making sure this is locked in and not going anywhere. And once I'm really sure that that is going to stay and it's not moving anymore, then I can move on to what I'm going to do with next. Okay? Rent approves? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off this. I'm going to leave it nice and long just to start with, okay? Because I'm going to trim it in a second, but I just want to have that long piece out of the way. Now, I'm going to bring myself back to where I left my tied-in point for that tail material, which is nicely splayed back here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my piece of yarn. Now, when I grab this, I want to actually unfurrow it a bit and grab about half of the fibers and pull them apart. So you see, I just grab, I pull apart. What I'm left with is this, just like this. I'm going to tie this in as is once I square it off. Like so. I'm going to come in, tie in that material, get it locked into place. Whew. Pull out these wings. Try to keep them out of the way the best you can. And now I'm going to advance my thread forward all the way up the hook shank to in front of those wings. I'm going to throw in a quick half hitch. I'm going to leave it right there, set my thread out of the way. Now I'm going to grab this yarn and start wrapping forward. Okay, just nice touching wraps. Trying to keep the wings out of it the whole way up. As I move forward, I'm going to work my way all the way up to the back of the wings. Once I get to the back of the wings, I'm going to do a cross wrap in either direction, okay? So if I come like this so you can see, I'm going to cross the wing this way, come over to the front, get in front of the wing, cross over the other way now. So I'm securing that wing even better with this yarn material, and it creates a bit of a thorax bump right up at the front. Just gotta get around this thread. There we go. Because that thorax bump is important too. It adds a little bit of a profile change. So I'm gonna do one more figure eight with this yarn. And once I get back in front of those wings, I'm gonna pull them back. I'll bring my thread back into the equation, and I'm going to tie it off right behind the eye. Tie it down, pull it back, take a few thread wraps right there. Now before we do much trimming, we'll just trim out this tag end before we trim the wings. I'm going to whip finish, or you can use a half hitch tool if you like. I'll use the half hitch this time. Again, just a tool with a hole in the end. Wrap around twice, bring it over the eye of the hook. Pull it tight. Okay? You can do that a couple times or just do it once and add some resin. Really up to you. Once I have that trimmed out of the way, get my thread out. Now I'm left to deal with these wings. Okay? Now I want to try to gather all the material so it's together and I don't have any little pieces anywhere. And then I want to trim them so they're actually quite long. Okay? So I want to trim them so they're about the overall length. If I imagine the length being from the back of the fly, the back of the hook, to the front of the hook, I want to trim them about that long. So when these mayfly wings lay out on the water, they are quite long. Okay? Over exaggerate them a bit. If they seem a little long, it's probably the right thing. Okay? I'm going to come in here, make sure my tail is propped up where I want it to be, still splayed out. That's good. It's tough to see the tail, but it's right in there. Okay? And there you have it, guys. That is our Rusty Spinner. You can choose the length of your wing. Everybody has a little bit different shape or length that they like. Kind of go by feel, but just remember to leave it a little bit longer than you think you should, and you're probably going to end up where you want to be. If you have any of those stray fibers that kind of go out on their own, you can go in there and clip them out. Make sure they're not in the way. Keeping the wings fairly uniform. And there you have it, guys. That is our PFD Rusty Spinner. A great pattern, tied in all sorts of different colors for different mayflies, different hatches that you know are in your local area. And I promise you, these will catch fish. You fish them a little different, but if you really focus on where the dead bugs are and you fish them in those areas, you're going to catch some fish. All right, guys, again,